go. This is where we ended off. We are going to just open up our layers again here. Here we go. So remember, please, that you can arrange these things any way you want. You are not doing it exactly as I'm doing it, just the steps to kind of follow. But the arrangement, the shapes you use, the icons that you find, all the other images, the bursts, the torn paper, the person, obviously are going to be different. All right, so from here, what am I going to do next? Well, I'm going to go to this torn piece of paper here on the torn layer. Remember, please name everything. Turn this on. Now from there, what I would like to do is use the magic wand tool, put the setting of tolerance at like a 10 because I don't want it to grab all of the white. I just want this piece of white kind of and leave this. You can see the difference here if I zoom in. I don't want this, I just want this. All right, so I'm going to do that on one side. I'm also going to do it on the other. I'm going to hold shift to add this section as well. And I am going to then right click and put this on its own layer. So I'm going to cut it out on top. So this can be called torn 2 or top torn. Okay, now once we've done that, what I would like to do is take this pattern and put this on top of top torn. And you see that there. Now, if you're having trouble, if you double click, we should be able to change the pattern. It's not giving me that option. So I'm going to throw out this pattern with the guns for a second. I'm going to go back down here, create a new pattern layer. There's the pattern. You can see the guns behind there. I'm going to change the scale maybe to about 28 or something like that. That sounds fine. It's a little bit bigger than the one with the fist that we did in the background. Hit OK to that. Now once we have OK to that, I'm going to make sure that that stays inside top torn. So in order to do that, I'm going to make sure it's on top. I'm going to right click on it and do create clipping mask. And you can see now if I zoom in, it has put it in this area, but not in that torn kind of fuzzy edged area. All right, now from there, what else can we do? Well, at any time you can double click, you can change the scale. Also though, we can change color of this. So if I go to this and double click on the layer itself, where the pattern is, I can go to things like color overlay. And I can choose from different blending modes and of course different colors. So remember, to kind of stay where we were with color-wise, if you remember, we had that little piece right here, which I'm going to bring to the top. This was, we'll just call this, original obey work. So we know what's what. But this one, just so we can steal the color of this blue, I would like to be able to use that blue. So what I could do is go to this layer again, double click, and here when I do color overlay, instead of choosing this color, I could click and instead choose a color directly from this work. Now, if I look at it from far away, not too bad. You can see the blue back here. We're going to delete this later, so don't worry about that image of his up top. But I got that blue in there, looks pretty good. I can still double click it and change the opacity of it or the blending mode of it. Depending on which blending mode I pick, I'm going to get different looks for it each time. I'm going to choose one that makes some kind of interesting look to this. Hard to kind of find the right one, but that's probably fine. I'm going to hit OK to that. And then that layer itself, if I want to, I can bring down the opacity of that layer so it's not quite so dark. And maybe I'll leave it at 100. Who knows? So you can play with the blending mode of that layer. So each and every piece that you bring in has different blending modes, different layers, different looks, different sizes. So there's just tons of different things that you could potentially do to this. I guess I'll put it back to normal. Okay, so we have that. I am going to lighten it up a little bit. You know what? I don't like the color overlay on it. I think what I might do is get rid of this color overlay effect, add a layer on top, fill that with that same blue, and just fill a layer with that color right on top, and then change the blending mode. Something like that maybe. Alright, so what I did is I made a new layer of that color and I just changed the blending mode up top. Okay, we're almost done here. What else could we possibly do? We have this rectangle, which if I put back on, you can't see the edge of right now. But I should be able to now take this, put it on top of everything else, drop it. It covers everything. Now we don't necessarily need the red on it right now. We just need the black line. So I'm going to go to the same tool I used to do it, rectangle tool, go to the fill at the top, change it to nothing, and you can kind of see that nice border now that we have created. And remember, you could always change the size of that border any which way that you want, like thinner, fatter, any way that you'd like. So that part looks good. What else do we have at the bottom? We have the original gun. You know what? I'm going to throw that out. We don't need it. Original fist. That's up to you. You can keep any of these pieces. You can use them again somewhere else. This one's behind. If I bring it to the top, you can see it there. So maybe we use this in some way. You know, maybe at the bottom of the page and we just increase the size of it. I don't know. Everybody's is going to be different, so there's not one particular thing I can tell everybody that's going to work for everybody's work. But that might be something that works. And if we want to change the color of it, numerous ways, right? We can go to the paint bucket, choose a color, fill that in. There are options there that we could easily do, or turn it to any other color that we like, maybe the red that we use back here, or the same red that's right here. Obviously, sticking with his color scheme is going to give you looks that look more like his work. So if that's something that you would like to try to do, then by all means do that. What else do we have? Now, we get into these other little pieces where we have something like the flower. I'm going to bring the flower to the top so we can see what's going on with it. There's the flower. Okay, this piece right here. I'm going to zoom in on it. I'm going to take the magic wand, click on the white, right-click, similar, hit delete. I get rid of all that white. I do Command D to deselect. And now I'm going to take the Move tool, my toolbar, and decide where this is going to go. So I think what could be an interesting thing is to kind of use this maybe somewhere here, maybe, potentially. Enlarge it, Command T. Enlarge this piece like that. All right. All sorts of possibilities on where to put this stuff. Same thing goes for these bottom pieces, like the calligraphy design. Take it, drag it, pull it to the top. Make a decision about which piece out of this you want to actually use. Maybe I want to use this piece, so I'm going to make a rectangular selection using the rectangular marquee tool. Do like this, right-click, cut it, which means now the calligraphy designs one we can get rid of. This one, throw that out. The top one now, this one, we'll just do the magic wand tool. Click on the white. If you see this little pattern behind it, that's the stamp from the original website, we could always go to adjustments, threshold, just make it a little bit darker. And then we take the magic wand tool, click on the white, hit similar, right click, hit similar, hit delete, Command D, and we should be good to go. So now this one, where do I put this one? All right, so it becomes almost like a where do you put things kind of a pattern seems to start to happen. If you look at a lot of Shepard Fairey's work, you will also see bold letters and then almost backings behind them or blocks of color behind them. So with the rectangular tool, you can create any sort of blocks that you're looking for. I was going to show you an example here. So you can see this bold thing of red, bold block of red with the type over it. Or something like this, where it says advanced stereophonic recording and it's over blocks of type. So if we want to do the same sort of thing, we can take the rectangular marquee tool, decide on a color that we want to use up here in the fill. So I could do maybe, I'm going to click on the fill and try, maybe this color perhaps. Hit OK, zoom out, and I could make a block of color like this. All right, and now I could take that block of color and put it underneath the frame just by moving the layer down a little bit. I could do this anywhere else on the page. If I wanted to copy it and move one to the top, I could do another one, you know, at the top like that. And remember, with all of these, you have an option of adding lines to things, bold outlines to pieces. So for example, you know, on this rectangle, I could just double click and put a black stroke around it, or I can go to the layer itself, just go back to that same tool and right here, just increase the size like that so you can see it with that block on it. So I did it to 42.89. So I'd want to do the same thing here. So they're both the same. So you can add that, take that away, however you kind of want to do it is fine. So these now, the flower, the fist, they change a little bit based on the rectangle that's down here. So it really depends on how you want it to show up. I might make the fist a little bit smaller. I might make the fist a different color if I don't like it. So go through the steps of finding the right colors, the right pieces for everything, what you think it should look like, where you want it to be. Each piece gets moved around until you find the right spot for everything. I might resize this actually. And the kind of patterns that he often does in his work, you'll see a lot of these flower type patterns, like this sort of thing that's happening in the background, that kind of a thing. You'll see more on his work. And you can pick one that you like of his and see if you can kind of duplicate the setup of it. But I could take this, you know, put this here, let's say, and then take this piece. Sorry. What is this? This is not rectangle, not burst, pattern fill, torn. Layer 3. What's on layer 3? No. Layer 4, sorry. So I could take this piece, potentially put it in the center, increase the size of it. Right? Maybe I take this flower, copy the flower, Command T, resize it, you know, and maybe copy it again, Command T, resize it again, something like that. Right? And now I can take all three of these, flower 1 copy, flower 1 copy 2, hold Option, copy these, and then Command T and flip them. All right? To kind of get some nice design going at the bottom. If you like what you did, I'm just going to hide this for a moment. Down here, from flower 1 all the way to here, you might as well take the whole thing and copy it. Hold Option and copy it. If we need to, we can flip it upside down. Kind of like the way it looks there, but we can do Command T and flip vertically like that. That's fine. We could resize it a little bit if we need to. Or I'll leave it like that and we just have to make the rectangle behind it a little further down. Like that sort of thing. And then flower. This should say something somewhere, so you could remove one of these pieces and you could write something. Take the text tool, write what you want this to say. You want it to say stop the violence, or whatever you want it to say. Take it, move it, place it where you think it should go. You can always do Command T and sort of place it correctly and resize it. You could take the text tool, you could give it a different font, something maybe more exciting like this, possibly. All right. So these are the basic steps of it. As you go through and you look at some of his work, you know, if you find something you like and you want to try to do it, by all means ask me. There are so many ways for us to do things. And once you have the file somewhat set up, you can play around with color. You can play around with different pieces and copying them, let's say, and putting them in the front or putting them behind, or trying different things out to get the look that you'd like.